There are people, right now, in your life, you think you can trust, but you can't. And not because they wear it on their face, not because they hurt you out loud. No, it's because they hide. They hide their danger behind charm, behind fake help, behind little games you don't even see at first. Carl Jung didn't just study the mind. He studied what people hide. And he made one thing crystal clear: the most dangerous ones. They're not the loud ones. No, they're the quiet ones. The distortions, the ones who blend in, act like they care, while slowly, silently, dismantling you from the inside. They don't always scream. They don't always hit. Sometimes, they smile. And that's what makes them so dangerous. That's why you keep missing it. That's why Jung devoted his whole life to uncovering not just the mask people wear, but the shadow they hope you never see. 'Cause people don't show you who they are. They show you what they think'll work. And if you're not awake, you'll hand them your time, your energy, your trust, maybe even your love, to someone who was never safe to begin with. So Jung laid it out. 6 patterns, 6 masks, 6 types that feel harmless at first, but they'll wreck you quietly if you don't see it coming. Let's start. 1. The chronic victim. You know this one. The person who never owns anything. Nothing's ever their fault. Always suffering. Always attacked. Always done wrong. You feel bad, don't you? You empathize. You help. You get dragged in. But Jung saw it, clear as day. The permanent victim, they're hiding deep manipulation. See? If you're always the victim, you never gotta be accountable. Never gotta change. Never gotta face your own darkness. The chronic victim uses pain like a weapon. They guilt you. Twist reality. Turn your sympathy into obligation. You think you're helping. You're not. You're carrying them. And the sickest part, they don't want healing. They want control. Jung warned us, someone always playing the victim. They've fused with their shadow. That part that feeds on emotional manipulation, under the mask of helplessness. And they won't change, 'cause changing means giving up their only power. Your pity. Stay too close. You'll start feeling guilty for not being broken yourself. 2. The charming mirror. Jung called it the persona trap. This is the one who reflects back exactly what you want to see. They're agreeable, supportive, laugh at your jokes, admire your dreams, soothe your insecurities, feels like your biggest supporter. At first. But then, you start to notice something. Something off. Something strange. You don't actually know who they are, 'cause they ain't showing you a thing that's real. They're just mirroring you to win your trust. Jung wrote it plain. When someone over-identifies with their persona, they don't have a self anymore. They are the mask. And that real self, it stays hidden, protected, untouched, and completely unaccountable. The charming mirror's dangerous, 'cause they feel safe. But behind that mask, nothing. No substance, no stability, no real values. Just this shape-shifting ability to adapt, to mimic, to impress. They ain't loyal to you. They're loyal to your approval. And the second you stop admiring them, they're gone. Or worse, they turn against you. You didn't meet them. You met your own reflection in their performance. Trust in someone like that? It's like trying to shake hands with smoke. 3, the passive-aggressive enabler. This one's subtle, quiet. They don't criticize you straight up. They don't argue out loud. They let you talk, let you dream, and then they plant the seed. They hint. They undermine. You share your plan, they nod, and later slip in, "That's ambitious. I just don't want you to get hurt." Or, "You're so brave for trying that. I don't think I'd ever risk failing like that." Sounds supportive, doesn't it? But it's not. Jung saw it for what it is, the hidden shadow of the so-called helper. They don't attack your choices. They eat away at them, quietly. They make their doubt sound like concern, their fear like logic, their judgment like wisdom. And if you're not watching, you'll start thinking their limits are yours. Jung believed this type's especially dangerous, 'cause they pretend they're lifting you up while making sure you never outgrow 'em. 'Cause if you fly, if you rise without 'em, they lose their grip. And that's a kind of ego death they can't bear. So they clip your wings before you even get off the ground, and call it love, call it support. 4. The secret competitor. Oh, this one's tricky. They're not out there trying to beat the world. No, they're trying to beat you, but not where you can see it. They act like your friend. They clap for your wins. They smile at your success. But deep down, every time something good happens for you, they twist it. Make it about them. They downplay it. Shift the spotlight. Tell a story that's just a little better, just a little more impressive. Jung said, this type, they're driven by a deep, unconscious inferiority. They don't hate you. They hate what you make them feel, their own smallness. But instead of owning that, instead of growing, they compete in secret. They copy your ideas, pretend they thought of them first. They hand you compliments laced with poison, and they only cheer when they're ahead, when you're above. You feel it, the tension, the forced praise, the way the air shifts, just a little. And if you ignore it, you'll keep pouring trust into someone who don't see you as a friend. They see you as a threat. And here's the twist. When you fall, when you fail, oh, they'll feel relief, but they won't say it. They'll just smile, soft, and whisper, I was afraid this might happen. I tried to warn you. That person, they ain't no teammate. They're a mirror competitor, playing the part of support just to stay close enough, to sabotage you from the inside. Jung didn't stutter. Never trust someone who can't clap when it ain't their turn to win. That's 4 masks ripped off, 4 out of 6, and each one more subtle, more dangerous, the longer you don't see it. Now we drag the final 2 into the light, the manipulative wise one and the seductive empath, the one who hides control beneath compassion. And these are the hardest to spot, because they look like wisdom, they look like help, like healing. They don't grab control with force. No, they take it by preying on what you need most: love, growth, clarity. Let's keep going. 5. The spiritual narcissist, the wise one. This is the one who walks in like they're enlightened, mature, grounded, emotionally evolved. They speak soft. They quote philosophers. They drop words like alignment, shadow work, mindfulness. They act like they're above conflict, above ego. But the truth? They're chained to it. They're addicted to being seen as superior. Jung called it a split psyche, the conscious mind, clutching that spiritual identity, while the shadow leaks out as control, as quiet judgment, as this need to stay above you. And here's the danger. They don't argue. They dominate by always being the calm one. They make you feel like the emotional one, the unhealed one, the one still stuck in the mud. You try to call it out. They say, "Sounds like a trigger you ain't dealt with." Or, "I'm just holding space. It ain't my job to fix your projection." Or, "You're still reacting. You got inner work to do." Sounds wise, doesn't it? But it's not. It's a power move. They use emotional language to wipe out your reality. You can't win, 'cause they'll never admit there's a fight. You can't confront them, 'cause they'll twist your anger into a flaw in you. And the harder you try to rise, the more they shift the frame to stay one step above you, silently, spiritually untouchable. Jung saw it for what it was. The wise one? They didn't slay their ego. No, they just dressed it up, robes, crystals, concepts, and called it transcendence. The more you trust them to guide you, the more power they take. Not to help you grow, to keep you small, confused, always looking to them for clarity. They don't want equals. They want students. They don't want healing. They want authority. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake that stillness, that emotional stillness, for depth. But it ain't depth. It's performance. 6. The empath who always ends up in control. Jung saw it, clear as day. Projection. How people push their own wounds, their own mess, onto you. And this one, the empathic controller, they're a master at it. They feel everything. They read the room, the tension, the smallest glance. They cry easy. They comfort quick. They make you feel like no one else ever saw you like this. At first, feels like magic, feels like connection. But wait, watch. It turns, slowly, into control through sensitivity. You stop acting natural, start adjusting yourself. You don't want to upset them. You don't want to disturb their energy. You hesitate to show frustration, 'cause they'll say, "That energy? It really affects me." And before you know it, you're not expressing yourself anymore. You're managing them. 'Cause somehow, their pain. That became your fault. Jung warned. The danger's subtle. People who claim to be highly sensitive, a lot of them are just projecting their unhealed chaos outward, demanding the world organize itself round their wounds. And that's where the empath turns toxic. They don't want connection. They want safety at your expense. And when you can't give it, when you fail to meet that impossible need, they break down. And suddenly you're the problem. You're cold. You're insensitive. You're unstable. You're the reason they spiral. But it ain't your spiral. It's theirs. And they never learned to hold it, so they dump it on you. And if you ain't careful, you'll spend months, years, trying to regulate someone who never once took responsibility for their own storm. You'll think that chaos is depth. You'll think sensitivity is purity. You'll think control is closeness. And by the time you see it, your identity will be tangled up in someone else's storm. That ain't love. That's psychological submission. And Jung's advice: walk away. Because this kind, they won't say they're dangerous. Oh no, They'll say they're just feeling too much. And unless you are rooted deeply in yourself, you'll believe it. You'll think their pain's your fault, their chaos, your burden, their breakdowns, your job to fix. But they're not. You didn't break them. You just got too close. You've now seen all 6 types. And maybe you're asking, why do these people exist? Why do they move through the world like this? Jung's answer? Brutal in its clarity, because they never met their own shadow. So now, they make you carry it. They never faced the manipulator within, so they project manipulation onto you. They never owned their need for control, so they control in the name of love, of support, of guidance. They never sat with their own pain. So they hand it to you, as if fixing it is your duty. And these people, they're not rare. They're everywhere. They thrive in places where people don't know how to guard their own energy. That's why Jung taught, the only true defense is self-awareness, to spot the mask, to see through the kindness, to hear what's not being said, and to walk away before you need proof. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now we go deeper, beyond the list, into how you stop attracting these people, why your own shadow makes you tolerate them, and how to become, permanently, someone they can't manipulate, use, or break. By now, you know them. The 6 people Jung said you should never trust, not because they're evil, but because they're unaware of themselves. And when someone has no awareness of their own shadow, they make you live in it. They become the chronic victim, the charming mirror, the quiet enabler, the hidden competitor, the spiritual narcissist, the empathic controller. They don't always come to destroy you. They come to feed from you. To Jung, this wasn't a moral failing. It was a psychic survival pattern. The unconscious, trying to hold itself together by casting its pain, its control, its confusion, onto you. And if you don't recognize that pattern, you'll think it's bad luck. You'll think you just keep attracting the wrong people. You'll think you're being punished. But Jung would say, you're not being punished, you're being mirrored. Here's the warning most people miss, the one that changes everything. You attract what you haven't integrated. Let that sink in. If you keep attracting manipulators, there's a part of you still afraid to stand fully in your own truth. If you're always surrounded by victims, there's a part of you that needs to be needed to feel worthy. If you're constantly betrayed by the charming, there's still a part of you worshiping external approval over internal clarity. That's why this message isn't just about who to avoid. It's about why you let them stay. And for Jung, the answer always lived in one place. Your shadow. The shadow attracts the mask. Jung taught that your shadow holds everything you've pushed away. The parts of you called too much, too selfish, too intense, not lovable. So you buried them. You became nice. You became helpful. You became agreeable. But in doing so, you left the door open. You became emotionally intelligent. You became what would get you accepted. But here's the price you paid. You lost your edge. You lost your instincts. You lost the barrier that kept harm at bay. Because when you repress your anger, you tolerate disrespect. When you silence your intuition, you ignore the red flags. When you shut down your self-protection, you keep letting in people who pretend to love you, only to slowly consume you. Jung didn't want you to become cold. He wanted you to become whole. And to do that, you have to stop pretending. that your love is limitless, that your patience is eternal, that your trust should be handed out freely, because it shouldn't be. Not everyone deserves access to you, especially those who live unconsciously. Here's the hard truth. Some people aren't learning. They're not evolving. They're not growing with you. They're just repeating. For 10 years, maybe more, same patterns, same shadows. They're not doing the work. They're just adapting their language, dressing up the same old habits in new words. And unless you choose to value inner alignment over outer harmony, you'll keep bending for people who wouldn't stretch an inch for you. So what now? If this video hit you hard, good. It means something in you is waking up. It means you're done being easy to manipulate. It means the old version of you, the one that needed to be liked, needed to fix, needed to feel good, is finally tired. And that's where real change begins. Step 1. Audit your circle. Ask yourself, who drains me? Who confuses me? Who do I feel I'm always explaining myself to? If someone constantly needs context just to treat you right, they're not confused. They're avoiding accountability. Let them go. Silently. Without guilt, Jung believed withdrawal is one of the strongest acts of consciousness, not because you hate them, but because you finally stop abandoning yourself to keep the peace. Step 2. Let your shadow speak. Stop trying to be perfect. Let yourself say no. Let yourself feel anger. Let yourself question intentions. Your shadow isn't evil. It's protective. It's the part of you that remembers who you are when you're being emotionally gaslit into forgetting. Let that part rise. Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. If you want peace, stop performing for it. Integrate the part of you that can walk away, that can set a boundary, that can say, I'm not available. 3. Stop explaining. The people who deserve your energy won't need you to justify your boundaries. They'll feel them. They'll respect them. They'll meet you with their own clarity. But the toxic ones? They'll demand explanations. They'll guilt-trip you. They'll twist the story until you look like the problem. Let them. Jung didn't believe in convincing unconscious people to see your light. He believed in becoming so deeply grounded in yourself that their confusion no longer slows you down. 4. Trust what you felt the first time. Most people aren't confused. They're just hoping they're wrong. But you weren't. That moment you felt the energy shift, that moment your gut said, something's off here, that wasn't paranoia. That was your subconscious reading patterns before your mind could name them. Start listening to it. Because the people Jung warned us about, they don't come with obvious danger signs. They show up with flattery. They show up with emotional stories. They show up with alignment, vulnerability, healing talk. But time always reveals the truth. And when it does, make sure you're far enough away that it costs you nothing. The final word. Carl Jung didn't want you to fear the world. He wanted you to stop fearing your own knowing. Because the more of your shadow you integrate, the fewer toxic people get close. Not because you're hiding, but because your energy no longer gives them an opening. You stop explaining. You stop fixing. You stop justifying your standards. And without ever raising your voice, you become someone no manipulator can reach. No narcissist can fool. No secret competitor can rattle. You become the person Jung wanted you to be, awake, whole, impossible to trick.